Oh, jeez, you're here already. I'm sorry, I'm running behind. I'm Alan Arkish, and welcome to the Get Crazy After Party. The cast and crew are all here. Hang on one second, let me turn that down. I need to check to see if you're on the guest list. I hope you enjoyed the show. New Year's Eve, great, wasn't it? Yeah, here you are. You're a guest of Kino Lorber. Well, thanks for waiting. 39 years. I know it's a bit much, but we're all here together. Oh, take a look at this. Speaking of 39 years, this is the original boombox from my office. Every single piece of music in Get Crazy went through this boombox, and it still works. Pretty cool, huh? Check this out. Slate, there it is, B camera. Take two. We finished the movie, and we couldn't have been more excited. And the production company takes over. They decided to dump the movie. No ads, nothing, right? It closes after one weekend. And then they have the nerve to put out this piece of crap. It's blurry, it's VHS, it's not even in widescreen. Goodbye. 15 years later, along comes DVDs. We got a new life. They check the vaults, they can't find the picture, and they can't find the sound. 20 years go by. I've looked in every vault, in every storage facility in Hollywood, and nothing. And on the clear blue sky, 3 years ago, Kino Lorber calls us and says, we found all the elements and we want to put out the movie. Joy, right? But then COVID hits, so we have to stop production. You know, like everyone else in the world, we felt anxious and isolated. We call up the cast and crew, we have a discussion, and everyone agrees, like Neil Young says, don't be denied. So let's Zoom it. Everyone shared all their memories. We talked for hours, and we're going to show it to you now. So, you know, get yourself a drink at the bar, smoke them if you got them, and there's a lot of people here who've got some things to tell you.
Oh, that was the most fun movie I ever worked on in my life.
It was such an incredible experience.
I honestly can't estimate how many times I've watched it.
The original intention was to make it like a Jerry Lewis movie on acid.
The whole experience for me was like a magic carpet ride, I gotta tell you.
It was really a lot of fun.
I was just blown away because I hadn't seen it in a long time. There's so much in it.
It was incredible. People's talent and craziness all converging for great chaos.
The title is just perfect. It's so crazy. And then at 45 minutes, you know, it just takes you to a whole nother level because the music is really good.
The concert sequences in this movie are as good as it gets as far as I'm concerned.
As a rock guy or just as a moviegoer, I would have to say it's beautiful.
Brian Johnson, who's the lead singer of AC/DC, who's a lovely guy, a friend of mine, he goes, "Oh, Malcolm, we watch Get Crazy on the bus. We'll love it."
Here we were with all these ex-corpsmen people in the Wiltern and stuff, and everyone was a rock and roll fanatic. There was just no doubt.
Oh, sure.
What could be better? Like Mad Magazine type humor and really good music and fun visuals. It really hit me in my wheelhouse.
A lot of the Marx Brothers is in Get Crazy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Duck Soup and the Chaos and Night at the Opera.
It has that exact crazy fucking energy that I loved. I mean, I grew up on the Marx Brothers.
Because I always like comedies where you think you're not getting it all the first time.
I mean, it is an homage to the Fillmore. It is an homage to the music. But the filmmaking, the absurdity of it is so fucking Marx Brothers.
A certain rhythm to the chaos of it that is really, it's almost an internal running gag in and of itself. Just set your watch. If something crazy and manic and slapstick doesn't happen in 15 seconds, I'll give you $1,000.
It's really the zany, crazy energy of music, musicians.
I love every performance in the movie. All of these actors are actors that I love.
I saw all the little inside things there that you did to come from the Fillmore.
Well, we were naive. We thought this was going to go on forever. But when the Fillmore ended and we look back on it now, that's one of the reasons I made Get Crazy. And the original script was more of a memoir of how it was. And that I wrote with Danny Opatashu.
Oh, you wrote it too? I must have stepped out of the room.
And Danny and I went to film school together and worked at the Fillmore East together. And it was about these funny stories and this camaraderie and this excitement. The original title was Hell's a Rockin', which is actually would have been a great title with what I think of it. It's all based on a movie called Hell's a Poppin'. I think in retrospect, because it was made about the Fillmore East, right? And what that theater was like, we ended up with a Fillmore East experience making the movie.
When we first met and you cast me in it, you were telling me that I'm you, that you were a kid at Fillmore, and that it was sort of autobiographical.
I was trying to tell the story of all that great rock and roll that we saw. And you and I sat down and talked about doing a movie about these experiences. So the Fillmore ended on 71 in June.
And my first draft was in January of 82, based on the atmosphere and our experiences at the Fillmore East 10, 11 years ago, but we were going to set it New Year's Eve of 1969, the end of the decade of the 60s, the end of the Fillmore. So this was Act 1. This here is Act 2, right? And Act 3, right? In this, there are no bad guys trying to take over the theater. There is a bomb, but the bomb is placed by the Lower East Side motherfuckers, who were the Music Belongs to the People revolutionary organization that was always trying to knock down the doors of the theater and call in bomb threats so they could get into the theater for free.
So we went out with the treatment idea and pitched it. To put it in context, the meetings were not that hard to get because of Rock and Roll High School and because the agents were setting it up as another a sequel or whatever they could say.
That sort of stuff, yeah. We were pitching to Jeff Katzenberg. I get almost to the end of Act 2. And Katzenberg says, no, I don't think that people are interested in the 1960s and music from the 60s. The end of that pitch.
The Hollywood system is so fucked up.
Right.
That they didn't get like what they had. When you called me and said they're making me make it contemporary, my heart sank.
And then after they saw the first draft, they felt it was too nice. They wanted it harder edge. That's who they were.
We're talking about the most corrupt organization, all right?
What we had wanted was to do a loving, satiric, poke fun of take on a guy that we really liked and we really respected, who was always support his family. And all the women that worked there thought of him as their dad. I mean, was always taking the cudgels of anybody that was there. He would join the outside security when they were having face downs with Hell's Angels out on 2nd Avenue and on 6th Street.
Bill was one of the most interesting characters I've ever been around. And so, the fact that he's, a Holocaust survivor, I mean, all this stuff is just, this guy is really complex, and all the shit that he lived through, with the dead and early San Francisco and, Ken Kesey and all that stuff. And, he's a complex guy, but he could be that warm and that menschy and then turn around and scare the living shit out of you. But, I've been around very few people that are that larger than life.
John Davison hires you for Airplane, and you do really well on Airplane. I needed desperately a producer. John suggested you, and we had worked together, and we know each other. The only problem with that company was there's a Yiddish word for them, and it's called a ganef. A ganef is like a horse thief. What were the challenges of prep?
The challenge was, how are we going to recreate the Fillmore East? We went to a lot of the downtown theaters on Los Angeles Street, but we knew we got this is a crazy in rock and roll. We kind of trashed this theater too. We got all these things going on. So that didn't work. Then we looked for closed down movie theaters, and we again thought about possibly building a thing on stage, but that would have been prohibitive, to do all that kind of stuff. And the Wiltern, which is iconic, on Wilshire and Western, had been closed down for a long time. And we went once and said, this is too trash. I don't know if we could save this thing. But we went again, and we brought in this really top construction coordinator. He did a whole thing and said, we can make this work.
And then you made one of the most important decisions of the whole production, which was we only had $8 million, I think. And you said, we have to shoot everything that we can in the theater. And there was so much space that we built the sets of the girls' bedroom, and we built the airplane, I think.
Built in the parking lot.
Oh, did we do that in the parking lot?
We never left that theater. We said, this is our studio. Let's not forget, we also landed a helicopter on a Sunday right in the corner of Wilshire Boulevard and a Western.
Let's be honest. We could not have made that movie with any other AD but Cliff Coleman.
No question. Such a knowledgeable guy, and even one of his specialties was big crowd scenes. And we had several days where we had 800 extras.
We were looking for an AD, and John Landis called us and said, we got a great AD on Animal House. This guy can really handle wild party scenes. So you and I are sitting there talking to Cliff. This is before the internet. What else have you done? And he says, oh, well, I did the Wild Bunch.
I know.
And I look at you looked at me and go, what else do we need?
I know, it was just unbelievable.
And he carried this starter's pistol.
Yeah.
In the crowd scenes. He'd fire it for action and fire it twice for cut.
And he would fire the fucking gun off.
Yeah. It got people's attention.
We had assembled the crew. We had Tommy Del Ruth, who was the DP, who's also second generation, his father's Roy Del Ruth.
Right.
And you and I took them to see Iggy Pop at the Palladium. We're all there, and everyone's slam dancing. It's this giant mosh pit. Iggy is just pure Iggy, and he jumps into the audience, and he walks on people's hands, and all of a sudden he gets to the end of the audience at the Palladium, and he looks up at the balcony, and he runs and goes up the balcony, and he stands on the railing, wailing and singing, and he jumped off the balcony. And a couple of people followed him, and I turned to Cliff, and I said, Cliff, can we do that? And he says, oh, we're doing that. So do you remember the sessions?
Oh, yeah. We all did them at the record plant on La Cienega Boulevard, which was just, and obviously when you do them at night. And we did most of them in pre-production, but like always, you never have all your music before you start shooting ever. And so we did them. Sometimes we'd do them on a Friday night, wrap and go there, or even sometimes we would shoot and we'd go in the car and be there till 1 o'clock in the morning and go back to the set.
I mean, to have Lou Reed and John Densmore on the set, this is what I remember.
By the way, John Densmore was great, wasn't he? He was so funny.
He was such a nice guy. He's a lovely man.
And it was also great because I was a huge Doors fan to see John Densmore in the movie.
It was a great thing to have him in this movie, I swear. There's a film legend singing rock and roll, and there's a rock and roll legend pretending to be something that he isn't.
I remember this sort of moody guy that sort of sat in the corner by himself. This is Lou Reed.
Yeah. How did you get Lou Reed to be in a movie, or does everybody ask you the same damn question?
No, it's a good question. At the first meeting we ever took on the picture, we took Lou Reed and his wife Sylvia out to lunch at, of all places, the Russian Tea Room. And we were discussing music and his music. And I said, Lou, you've been around, the Velvet Underground albums and all that stuff's fine. But I just bought your latest record, The Blue Mask. And I have to say, it might be my favorite of your records. It's just fantastic how you keep making records that are not production-wise bigger, but deeper, And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, the song about being mugged in New York City, who would do a song like that? That you're like Hubert Selby, and we talked, and he did the picture.
Lou was amazing and tense as ever, but Lou said yes at lunch.
I brought him because I knew he'd be in his trailer. I lent him my boombox and I made a mixtape from interviews, his favorite music. And I give it to him, and his wife Sylvia's there, and he's looking at the box and says, oh, that's not the best Ornette Coleman cut. No. And he's grading them. And Sylvia turns and goes, Lou, he just made you a gift of music so that when you sit in the trailer, you can enjoy it. And you're tearing it apart. That's Lou Reed, right?
I remember him on the set He was very dark. He had a very dark, I think he was probably just terribly shy. I don't know. And maybe depressed, probably, with his wife. And you told me that afterward, he said it was one of the most fun days he'd had. And I thought, wow, poor guy. If that's him having fun, I don't want to see him when he's in a down mood, because he seemed pretty low.
After the movie was done, he did an interview in Cream magazine, which is a rock magazine, saying how much he hated the movie and that he felt he had been ripped off, and that they just had used his name to get the movie made. And I was so depressed because, you know, he's an idol of mine. And my wife said, you're never going to a Lou Reed concert for the rest of your life. That's it. So the movie was 83.
Right.
And so now it's about 95, 96. I'm doing a TV show in New York. And so I was living in the West Village. And so I go to the sushi bar, and I got the Village Voice, and I sit down at the sushi bar. I'm going to read the newspaper. And sitting 3 seats away is Lou.
Oh, my God.
And his wife, Laurie Anderson. He caught my eye, and we looked at each other, and he started talking to me. And he says, I am so glad I ran into you. I said terrible things about this movie, and I am so wrong. Everyone loves me in this movie. It's the only time people thought I was funny. It's a really funny movie. And he says, what have you been doing? I told him the shows. And he says, of course you're doing great shows. And he gives me his home phone number and everything. And he says, if there's ever anything I can do for you to make up for this, license music and all of this stuff. So we started corresponding. About 2002, I'm doing a show called Crossing Jordan. And we started licensing his music. And every time we'd call his music person, they'd say, I don't think Lou's going to want to license him. I said, ask Lou, tell him it's Alan Arkish. Comes back and says, yeah, he said, okay. And at one point, we wanted to license Walk on the Wild Side. And his manager said, he's definitely not going to want to license that because that's what everyone wants. And he's sick of that. And I said, ask him. Because he said, yes.
I've actually talked to people who left before Lou.
Oh, I know. There was an argument
and
about that.
To wring their necks. And in some cases, I've had to invite them to my house, sit them down and go, do you want to watch the end of Get Crazy Now? and they're just, they can't believe it.
We were having problem casting that part to begin with. And you personally went after Malcolm and would not take no for an answer. The list of people that we approached included Rod Stewart. It included Mick Jagger, Elton John. We went after everybody. And we went with a good singer-songwriter guy, but it was clear that it wasn't going to work.
I think it's the same old thing. Always hire an actor, right?
Yes, please.
I go out there with the script in hand. Malcolm was at the beach in Malibu and said, read the script and meet Alan, and I promise you're going to do this movie.
I remember my agent said, you know, they've called about you for this part. And I went, oh, yes. And they actually, the producer asked me whether you could play comedy. And I said, you call that producer back and you ask him, can you write it?
Yeah.
Because if you can write it, I can deliver it, believe me.
Malcolm read the script, got it, met Alan, got the whole thing, and that happened. Then we had to get a lot more money.
And you found the money. Tell us what happened when we sent you the script.
Oh, God. Did I tell you really what happened? I'm now.
Yes, you threw it away.
I just rented a house on Carbon Beach in Malibu at a great expense. But, you know, we were going to have a little break. And then my agent said, sending out a script. They really want you to do this. It's an American comedy. And I said, look, I really have just rented this thing. Just say, look, I can't do it right now. Don't turn it down flat. Just ask for way too much money. That's the best way to turn it down. He went, okay. And, you know, I'm in the house tottering around. The phone goes. And it's the agent again. And he goes, well, they've agreed to pay now. I said, for what? What are you talking about? He goes, that American comedy. I went, American comedy? I've thrown the script away. This was a Friday, I think.
Yeah.
They wanted me on the Monday. I remember I said, well, I've got to meet somebody and talk about it. I can't. They went, okay, we'll set it up. And I think you and Aunt Larry, who was a very sweet guy, I liked him a lot, came to Malibu. And I remember saying to you, I will do it on one condition. And I saw you visibly go, what's that? And I went, I sing my own songs. And I remember you said, well, can you sing? And I went, can Mick Jagger sing?
That was a moment of truth for Hunt and I.
Oh my
in
God.
the recording studio when we all realized, including Malcolm, that he could not sing at all.
And so what happened?
That first couple of days, I was like, Alan, I got to go. I'm going to go.
We played it back for him, and he went, oh, and he heard what we heard.
But then you kind of talked to Malcolm, and you right. You kind of said, don't sing it, act it.
Malcolm, do it Shakespearean. Do it like Grand Tragedy.
And he went back in there and he just started acting.
And we adjusted the music so the music had enough drama in it so that you could make it work.
And, you know, I'd never recorded. I just thought, listen, you know, to keep it interesting for me as an actor, I got to do something that I've never done and really go for it.
And it did not take very long before he shifted gears and came out with that really great performance.
And when he comes back for the second of time of Hot Shot as the heartfelt version of Hot Shot.
Oh, I know.
Great.
I loved coming back and doing the slow version of Hot Shot. And, you know, them passing up shit. And the guy goes, a refrigerator. You know, I mean, I never quite got to the end of the script. You know, I got 3/4 way through. So I'm, on the first day, I'm sitting in makeup next to another actor who says to me, it's such an honor to work with you. Thank you very much. And this is really exciting to me. I went, yeah, thank you. And then he said, and how are you going to do the end? I went, what? Oh, what do you mean, how am I going to do it? I'm just going to do it. And he went, wow. And I said to the makeup guy, I went, do you have a script? He goes, yeah, somewhere. He goes, oh, yeah. I go, what? I have a scene with my dick? What the fuck?
The scene where he's talking to his penis is one that I never forgot.
Is that you, Alcock? I didn't know you could talk.
Reggie Wanker finally getting the best advice from his, you know, schneckle. It's like, brilliant.
So, 20 years later, I'm in Krakow in Poland doing a movie, and I'm at a restaurant, standing at the bar with my wife, waiting for a table. A guy comes down the stairs, a Polish guy, and as he passed me, he goes, how's your manager? Oh! That was my reaction. Wow! Wow! I went, you saw that in Poland? He went, my favorite film.
So tell us about your first fitting with Malcolm.
You know, he's great. I love Malcolm. He's such a good sport. Malcolm, you know, he'd do anything.
He would come sit in the wardrobe truck, you know, the trailer with us and schmooze and tell stories, which was really fun. I loved it. I would just sit there, you know, at his feet listening.
Oh, yeah. And he had a big Winnebago, remember? And
yes, and he had his own party.
He had his own party.
Each time I realized that your performance centers all the craziness. That Reggie Wanker is just as nutty as the rest of the movie, but you give it a gravitas because he believes himself. You found the part of him that knew that he was on the downward slide. That you found that thing under the surface that made him rounded, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's the important part, isn't it? That he'd probably seen better days, you know, but hey, hadn't we all? So
there's a moment in it where you step off the stage and someone has moved the curtain so you don't have your light anymore, and you just sweep your arm to the side.
Yeah, I think you told me that Mick Jagger, when he was asked, you know, good luck, you know, a kiss for luck, and he kisses himself in the mirror, you know. And it was loosely based on, of course, Mick and Rod Stewart, you know. I mean, look, it's not in any way based on anyone, but of course they were shining examples.
Yeah. How did it feel going out there on a stage like a rock star?
Well, it's a thrill.
Was there a feeling of power?
Yes, it's a great feeling of power. And you know what? It was to the manner born. And especially if you've got a fun song like that, which was so ridiculous. But of course, it was so much fun to belt it out.
The band really did service behind you, you know?
Oh, Densmore.
Everyone on that set respected you so much. And to have you go out there and take those kinds of comic risks, I think really inspired everyone.
And it was so nice to work with Danny Stern.
Yes.
Again.
There's an homage to Blue Thunder in it, which I didn't know till recently. When you're walking off the stage and you go, check you later. And
yeah, exactly. And also the costume was so ridiculous. And that was a shout out, by the way, to Stanley.
And so how did you come up with the idea of Reggie all in white?
I think it was from A Clockwork Orange. I mean, I think, the Droogs.
I had a crush on Daniel Stern.
That's the shit I want to hear.
I knew the only reason I got the part was when I met you. I go, oh, I know why I got this part. Look at him. Look at me. Okay, I'm good. Yeah. The first thing I remember about it was I had just had a baby. Everybody else is going through all this crazy shit. There's naked women. There's punk rockers. There's all these people. I was going back to the house we had rented, and I had a 3-month-old. And I was 24 and like trying to figure out what is this? And we got a baby and I'm in the movie and that's what it captured. When I looked at it, I looked like a babe in the woods, just like I'm kind of a very raw young actor, not knowing what I'm doing. And I did fine, and being natural and being normal. I was supposed to be the normal guy in it. And on camera, I was kind of still a little shy, and it was quite a trip for me, man.
Huge cast, and the music and the choreography.
The call sheets were so complicated, standby musicians, playback,
and the production and how you would have gotten all those angles and resetting that group and doing the stunts off the balcony. It was like, I'm hanging out in the parking lot with Malcolm. And the music that you brought to the movie too. I mean, where did you find Laurie Eastside? Where did you find Lee? Plus Bobby Sherman and Fabian, the range that you get, and all the way to Lou Reed and then Malcolm singing, Bill Henderson.
Bill Henderson is so terrific in the movie. When he's singing, he's great, but he's such a natural actor too.
Yeah.
That I thought he was just an actor who sang. I didn't know that he was from, he played with Oscar Peterson.
And everybody playing the same song was fucking great.
Well, it sounds the same, but different.
It was the interpretation. Bill starts it off and everybody takes their swing at it. I mean, when I got to Lee Ving's version of it, I mean, and again, that song, when we were shooting it, pounded into our heads day after day after day, hearing the playback outside in the parking lot, hanging out, still hearing it, can't get away from it. But it was brilliant. There was so many good people who I want to talk about. Alan actually, in the end, being one of them.
Remember the fist fight?
Did it come to blows?
Yes.
Well, there you go. I don't.
It's the scene where you're walking the length of the theater with him and with Willie.
Yes, yeah.
Just a rough rehearsal. And all of a sudden, you're swinging and there's a fist fight going on.
Wow. Really?
And I start running and he's yelling, "Don't you ever touch me, man. Don't you ever put," and then somebody yells, "Alan, boss, look, look, look." And I look to the right and they've got this burning cross going. And they go, "What do you think?" I go, "Bigger." And
years later, I'm in the Valley, like on Ventura, in Studio City or something. I'm walking to my car. A big convertible Cadillac or something pulls up, parks right next to me. Alan jumps out of the car. He says, "I am so sorry for the way I behaved." He said, "I've been wanting to find you for years and years to apologize to you, to tell you how sorry I am." He took 5 minutes, just us standing on Ventura Boulevard, to tell me that. I mean, I hadn't remembered that it had gotten to blows, but it ended really, really well, which was great.
I've got a show to do. Step on it.
forgotten how much stunt work was in that thing. The Rolls Royce smashing up the cars.
Well, that's Roger Corman. That's Hunt and I.
Yeah, that's our background. Exactly.
Yeah, we could smash cars till we get tired.
And the production was bigger than I thought. I mean, it had scope to it.
There was always something going on. And then Alan had it in the foreground, the background, where the action was. He wanted it to be that way, just constant chaos of putting a concert on. And once the concert starts, the chaos even gets bigger.
It's like a Bosch painting in a mosh pit. It's mosh Bosch.
I love sight gags, and you've got a lot of sight gags in there. You know how to shoot it. You know how to write it. Stuff that's big and bold. You're not afraid of that. You wind up on the wrong side of that bomb, and then we're hanging there from the things like a Roadrunner cartoon.
Exactly.
I usually hear the opposite. Ed, bring it down. Bring it down. Great. He said, no, give me more.
Even though you weren't working, you wanted to go to the set just to see what was happening. Because every day it was like there was going to be some incredible performer showing up, or there was going to be something going on that you wanted to be a part of.
It was a fun set because there were so many crazy things going on.
People were really curious to see what the hell was going on, so they didn't want to stay in their trailer very much. They wanted to come out and get in the assistant director's way. So it made for a crowded but sort of a family shoot.
Yeah.
A lot of weed smoking, a lot of fun.
The costume truck was the party central. That's where you went to find out where everyone was going later.
The fun clubhouse in the parking lot.
Fun clubhouse in the parking lot. And then the prop guy, Tom Shaw, and he had his prop truck, and Malcolm had his Winnebago. So it was just a big party, and Alan didn't get to go.
I remember when the shoot would end, nobody would go home.
We'd stay there several hours. We'd be there 2, 3, 4 hours, just hanging out in the parking lot.
I mean, first the shooting was fun, but the hangouts in the parking lot and the beer and the camaraderie was really extraordinary. And the music was great. And the people, the whole punk rock, I mean, the whole crowd, we got to know the extras.
Oh, yeah. Well, you'd have some extras that would be there for the whole show. I mean, some actors work 30 days.
Yeah.
And other people like, can I come back tomorrow? I've never seen actors. Yeah, sure. Come on back.
We have to give props to Janet Cunningham, who was the casting person for the extras. She brought out every punk rocker in LA. Did you know that many of them were living in the theater for the length of the shoot?
They were living there?
Yeah.
And I found out really like on day 33 or 4, I said, well, the hell with it. They've gone away with it this long.
By the way, Fabian was super nice to us too. Not just because we both had crushes.
I love Fabian. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Fabian.
I was starstruck by Bobby Sherman.
Oh, he was a huge star. So was Faye, Faye with the surfer movies and all that.
Yeah, that was the first and maybe the only time I've ever asked for an autograph. I got my sister, Bobby Sherman's autograph. Bob Picardo. Bob is one of the funniest fucking people on the planet.
He's hysterical.
Laurie Eastside and I became very good friends too. And Susie Sidewinder was her.
Right.
Laurie was so fucking charming. She was so funny.
So full of life.
Malcolm and I had just done Blue Thunder. He was having the fucking time of his life on that movie. And he was just so funny and so
fun.
Give a shit, I mean,
he really did.
And Gail was so nice.
Top of the list. We were really, as in the movie, kind of two babes in the woods. I mean, I didn't know the scene. I didn't know the music. And we didn't have to be crazy like that.
Well, what about Lee Ving?
That guy went for it harder than anybody I've ever seen. And Barry Diamond, another great guy in the thing.
Right.
I mean, and I'm looking at the movie. Barry plays like 6 parts in the movie.
Yes.
Just thinking of that bathroom scene with the shark going through, just an absurd thing. The monkey too. A lot of that. I mean,
a lot of that came from a misspent youth watching Jerry Lewis movies.
Well, that's a great lens to view the movie through also, I think.
We needed a place to flood and do the bathroom scene. And somebody said, let's just do it in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And they came up with a solution that they were going to take plastic and line the whole place and basically turn it into a kiddie pool. And I just had to keep my camera off the plastic. And I remember you and I walking in and opened and seeing that water there. We could not stop laughing.
We couldn't believe it. I mean, they gave us our waiters or these old-fashioned hip waders.
I accomplished what I was trying to do, which was showing that a day at a rock concert is nonstop.
Nonstop.
Yeah, your energy level and the fact that you're moving all the time in a very purposeful way did a lot towards that. I think there's only 3 scenes in the whole movie, maybe 4, with there's only 2 people in them.
Between the music and the camera moves, it's a sugar high.
Absolutely, yes.
Howard Kalin, who was hilarious, and couldn't be nicer, and had played the Fillmore East as the Turtles and played the Fillmore East with the Mothers of Invention.
You're Captain Cloud.
I am Captain Cloud.
We never went to anyone else. You came in, I said, Captain, and that was it. And you had it. You seemed to be enjoying every day on the set. You had lived it. You had lived the preparation.
I'm still there. I'm still there. The bus could pick me up right now.
And I think you and I had long talks about you weren't going to play anyone. You were going to play the myths about people. The mythology of the Grateful Dead and Jerry Garcia. The mythology of the Incredible String Band. Hawkwind. All the far out groups. The vibe of the Incredible String Band was something I thought the Captain Cloud's group should have. And it came out just like I'd hoped it would.
The imagery of the people getting off that bus with the tambourines and the smoke and the incense and the pretty girls and all the tie-dye clothes and stuff. I mean, that's what the Hollywood illusion is. I think including Lee Ving in there made the movie swing into an LA place.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you could have had a crazier crowd if you had shot at the Fillmore originally.
Yeah,
Those people were nuts. A lot of it, I think, had to do with the fact that we shot a lot of it at the incredible Wiltern Theatre.
We never left.
Everything takes place there, and it's wonderful. And that's what I think made it feel like the Fillmore, because we had a home base and we had a family of people working that you could trust and you knew by first name. It was a wonderful shoot. It was really, really pleasant. Everybody knew everybody else or made the effort to knock on a dressing room door and go, "Excuse me, I don't know you, but I'm thrilled to be in the same picture." And I've adopted a lot of Captain Cloud's mannerisms over the years, I think. I think I probably always had his philosophy, but a lot of his words are very resonant. A lot of the very wise words from those scripts are wise words indeed and should be paid attention to.
Yeah, well, time's a trip, man.
What, do you remember anything about the shoot?
Oh, sure, of course. It was just such a cool location. It was so great to be at that theater. You know, that movie has more setups probably than any other movie you've ever done, right? It's like there's a million vignettes and a million sight gags. I mean, jumping off the balcony into the airbags and all that it was wild. And my performance, you know, it's kind of like Jack Webb in a fire helmet. I used to call characters like that, which I played a lot early in my career, the "oh no, you can't do that" guy. I remember the scene where Malcolm McDowell is buried and all the naked women. I think you had to build some sort of like kind of structure or bookshelf for the women to lay in. I mean, how many movies do you make a naked woman shelving unit? Not a lot.
You were so kind to me because you knew me and you knew my work, and it was just like such a peer-to-peer level.
I have to say, in looking at it again, I am totally taken with your insane commitment to this character. First as a dick, right? But then once you take the acid, when you talk to the stage manager and you're high on acid, you've got that chicken and you're stroking the chicken. Okay. How did the look come together? The hair should get billing.
But do you remember the shot of when the helicopter lands and the girls' dresses fly off and I'm carrying the hot dog? Yeah. We wanted it so the hair wouldn't move. You remember that? You and I were like, how can we do this if the hair won't move? And then, of course, I had to wear a chili dog jacket for the next 2 weeks. You know, when I kicked that dog, and it goes flying through the auditorium. The cartoonness in that movie, I mean, the bubba 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 bubba, I mean, that was just so much fun to choreograph with those guys because they were like real pros.
So
We covered the chicken. We've covered the LSD. So what'd you think when you saw it again?
Oh, it was so much fun. What a fun movie.
Well, how did you react to seeing yourself?
It felt like a time that I can watch now and just have fun and laugh with. I think it plays better now than it did even then. I guess probably my favorite scene was the one with the motorcycle guys.
Yeah.
Just for its cartoony, silent film, classic nature. Oh, I kind of like the scene, just that little moment with Anna Bjorn where she's blowing on her nails.
Yeah.
And so I think, she wants me to do that too. Anytime I was with Dan Stern, I felt like I was, great by association.
You were in so many stunts.
Falling 5 feet into that box of Mylar balloons, which I remember being very nervous about, but I was just like, I think I'm going to do it. And I think we did it twice, but I think the last time we did it, I disappeared into the balloons. They reached in to get me, and someone like just big old boot on my face as they're pulling me out.
You were the symbol of all of us on the stage crew.
Oh, okay.
Everything that your character got into was shit that happened to us.
And then I remember coming and doing the reading and getting a call back. And I think I got a request to wear something more sexy.
Wow, that's a shock. In Hollywood?
In Hollywood? And I thought, well, I guess I wasn't all right. So I think I went back with like a lace top and no bra. That was my homage to, does this work? Obviously it did. So yay. Yeah. You did a great job with the fantasy. I mean, those were the best to shoot. I think my favorite is Boy Meets Girl. I mean, I could have done that over and over and throwing the bag and Dan was so much fun, and the way you shot it, and to have paid for just one look was a big compliment. And then of course, then the whole him and Tarzan and the gorilla.
Oh my God. And you with the stake with the flames and the fire marshal coming into the shot.
It was so much fun. And the guy that lit me up on fire, he said, I'm the one that burned Joan of Arc at the stake. It was really cool.
When we had to do something for plot, we were totally winking. I mean, you and Danny falling for each other was such a wink.
I mean, you could tell we liked each other, but then it took all night. It took one night for us to finally go, this is going to work. When we first were shooting, it was like, what's the guy in the big white suit? And of course, I'm like, oh dear, I got it.
Everyone had a bent sensibility on that show.
That was a fun crew, man. It was really a lot of camaraderie and a lot of fun. And that was really special to be kicking around the Wiltern Theatre with all the seats out and climbing up to the projection booth and getting into the superstructure of that beautiful domed roof and seeing all the cables and stuff.
How did you prep and so forth?
It was a pretty intense process. Everybody had to record Hoochie Coochie Man. Sparks had to write the title song. The Not a Band had to record. We went into a studio and recorded them and put them on tape for playback in the studio.
Explain to everyone who Bones Howe is.
Bones Howe is a legendary record producer. He produced Tom Waits, he produced The Association, and he was a music supervisor for quite a long time, including on Get Crazy and then ultimately on Back to the Future and several other movies. He's got a pretty long resume.
When you look at his list of records he engineered or produced, you say, this is every record I ever listened to. How involved were you, do you remember, in the choice of songs and how they were performed?
Well, we were sort of all together. And I remember it just, it was always a discussion. It was always, it was pretty organized. But I spent a lot of time in the studios. And I was in the studio when Sparks did that. I remember when Fear recorded Hoochie Coochie Man and listening to Spit Sticks play like that. It's like he was going to, self-emulate. He was so fast.
The guitar player, Durf, played a solo, and I said to him, it's really not wild and intense enough. And he said, nobody has ever said that to me. I said, I think you're holding back. Go for it.
Awesome, man. You did. Watching the film again and looking at the sort of Not a Band, it reminded me of Arcade Fire, this giant lineup of people playing all different kinds of instruments spread out across the stage. It was really, it's a great scene.
It was my attempt to tell the story of girl groups who I've loved since I heard the Shirelles or the Chantels or any of those bands all the way through, and tell it in one image.
Right.
Go from them to the B-52s to Bikini Kill, and tell that in an image. And I'm very happy that that comes across. It's that kind of texture. What people don't realize when you do a musical, you're actually directing the scene twice. You're directing the scene in the pre-records.
Yes.
It isn't just, you're not trying to sing the song the best you can. You're trying to sing the song that's appropriate for the dramatic situation it is.
Right.
And in this case, it's New Year's Eve and you're busting to go way out, because if it's not there in the delivery, it will not make sense on the screen. And that's why when we talk about Malcolm singing Hot Shot slowly and softly as if ravaged by inner pain, he had to nail that and be directed in the studio to get that, so that when he was on stage, that worked with the amount of campiness that someone who's used to being kind of a bullshit singer would bring to it. There's a lot of elements going on. If it's written right, written with a rhythm, because really every scene has to have a heartbeat, and it's directed with the rhythm, and it's cut with the rhythm. You are amazed how many pieces of music lay into it and work.
That's right.
And then comes the part of, but what are we trying to say here? Sister Susie walking down the street.
Yes.
Originally, Sweet Jane, the live version.
That's right.
And it worked incredibly well, but to get that version and get everyone to agree to it was impossible. So Joey Ramone sent us an unused Ramone song called Chop Suey, which had a lighter feel to it and worked quite well.
The Do Run Run was one of the songs when Not a Band arrives in the car. We tried that there for a while. So we were experimenting with songs in terms of song score all the time.
We tried a lot of different pieces of music, but there's two that I think just work gangbusters. People react big time to Electric Larry, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's a piece of guitar music by Adrian Belew.
Yep.
It's called Big Electric Cat. Another one, and this is all props to Kent Beta. It was his idea to use the reggae dub music in the band.
That's right.
Mikey Dread.
Kent was finding stuff. You were bringing stuff in. I remember all of these amazing mixtapes you gave me.
They're actually behind me.
Yeah, oh, there they are. It was a kind of an open forum. If you have an idea, bring it in.
Ed Begley Jr. is so funny as Colin Beverly.
My favorite scene is one of those rapid fire scenes with Bobby Sherman and Fabian.
Yeah.
When we first come in, I try to get myself in with Max, and then when he's not buying it, I turn on him, of course.
And you guys did that syncopated dialogue.
Max Wolf is a pissant, and the Saturn Theater's got to go.
Disappear. Evaporate.
Personally, I like Max.
Nice guy.
Sweetheart. But I've got a business to run.
Major industry.
An empire.
Danny Opatasha wrote that stuff because I read the first script and it was in there then. And I said to Danny, did you get this from Danny Kaye and Corchester? He says, exactly. That's where it comes from. Get it, got it, good.
You knew the rhythm right away.
Yes.
And you gave me that clue when we shot, I believe. I went, oh, okay, I get it. Danny Kaye, Corchester, got it. Let's roll.
And it just dawned on me why the rhythm of those scenes are so good, because there's actually 3 musicians.
You're kind to include me in that group with those 2 professional musicians.
Yeah,
thank you.
But did you know Malcolm then?
I worked with him on Cat People the year before that.
Right. I don't remember us doing a lot of takes, and most of it's in group shots.
And I lived in Larchmont Village then, so it was like a 5-minute drive to the set every day. You made it easy on me in a number of ways.
I think I was just flipping around the dial, and I suddenly heard a Ramones tune, because it was the Chop Suey scene with Susie. Not only did I hear Chop Suey suddenly playing in a movie, which was unheard of, but it had Stacey Nelkin on screen. So I was pretty much glued from that point on.
Of course, I had a huge crush on Stacey Nelkin, as probably everybody did.
Oh my God. So I have to tell you, I always thought I was kind of out there, bold and adventurous. But when I first encountered people like Leaving and some of these other people dressed like that, it scared me a little bit. And I thought, oh my God, who are these people? How are they dressed like this, and piercings and things? Like now, I would love to do that. I think that would be really fun to just, I get it. I loved the part of Susie. I felt like I was maybe a little too old. So I remember consciously having to put that young girl energy in me.
And you remember how you and Rosanna Norton came up with the whole idea of how she's going to dress?
Oh, totally. I mean, that was the fun thing, to go from the contrast of Susie at home, bye, Mom, bye, Dad, see ya, like a little choir girl, to the sunglasses and the leggings, which were very Jane Fonda's workout. It was so much fun.
What do you remember about the shoot?
I remember hanging out a lot with Gail and Leaving, and remember having a mad crush on Malcolm McDowell. Loved Anna Bjorn, who was so ravishing and so beautiful. My husband took me to Iceland last year for a very big birthday. Everybody there knows Anna Bjorn, still to this day. It was very, very special to be around all of those people, the musicians, the actors, the comedians, at the Wiltern for weeks and weeks on end. It was one of the more fun filmmaking experiences I've had. I think it's really funny and really, really fun. And the music's phenomenal. The music's great.
And again, Roseanne did such a great job with all the different costumes.
I mean, there were a lot of costumes in that movie.
There was a lot.
Say, there are a lot of costumes in that movie.
And I think we had the most fun with the Nada girls.
Yeah, that's right. And there were you couldn't really tell how many girls were in that band.
Right.
Because they'd come down the stairs or they'd be on the stage and you cut between the shots. So it was just...
I think just because she loves little in jokes, when my character is crawling up the stairs in his underwear at the end, that my shorts had flames painted on them. She just had such a wit to her, to her costume choices.
Rosanna is an outlaw. She's a rebel.
And along the way, Electric Larry is there, which is one of my favorite characters of all time.
And that was Ivan Roth. Poor Ivan had to wear a mask through the whole thing.
Yes, layers of black chiffon, so you couldn't see anything definite. Here's an obscure film reference. I wanted Electric Larry to have the same look as Death in Death Takes a Holiday, a Mitchell Leisen movie from the early 30s.
Awesome.
I found the guy who put the acid in the water of the Fillmore East.
Well, I'm surprised they didn't put acid in the water cooler on Get Crazy. Maybe they did on Get Crazy. We don't know.
Yeah. Well, I got dosed just like in the movie.
Really?
Water cooler, yeah. And that was at the Fillmore East. It was the Dead and the Allman Brothers together. So we knew this was going to be, don't drink anything that's in. So I grabbed the empty water bottle when they were glass and ran the changing. And that night, everyone got dosed. So that's where I got the idea. So what are your favorite parts of it?
Nada.
Once Nada hits the stage, the movie shifts into this other gear altogether.
That band, I wish they were real. I would be at every show of theirs.
I don't know if it was you or Janet Cunningham said that you needed punks for extras. I probably got hoarse. I called so many people, and then I show up at the Wiltern, in my man's shirt and boots and hair. And I go up to Alan and I go, you like all these people? He goes, yeah, they're great. I go, I got them here and I want a part in this movie.
And I guess I responded well.
Yeah.
The first time we all got together, Lori Eastside and Susie Sidewinder, we met them. And, I always thought that, I was pretty cool, but these girls were really cool. They were like New York cool.
I think you set it up where you had 3 cameras and we did the whole song entirety 3 times and that was it. Otherwise my head would have fell off with those.
We did it from behind first, so you guys could warm up and so the audience was fresh to react to it. Some of those people were stunt people, but Lori kicked the shit of a lot of regular people.
When you jumped over that guitar and then grabbed the mic, your timing was
exquisite.
That actually does contain my favorite shot in the entire movie. After the first chorus, when she's running back to get the mic to sing the second verse, and she almost doesn't get to the mic, but somehow does.
Yes.
That one shot is as demonstrative of what rock and roll is as anything I've ever seen.
I just remember when we were filming that, I was going, please, God, do not let me kneecap Lori Eastside, please.
And Lori kicked our asses for 2 weeks.
It was great, though. It was so fun.
Kicked our butts for 2 weeks and that doing the jazz classes and all the choreography. And we were like, ouch, I can't move. And you're like, move, go, come on, one more time.
And then also East Side, you're conducting.
With the earmuffs on.
Yeah, on the left side. Of
I like the earmuffs.
Conducting the punk band, yeah.
And the song was great. It was well produced. It was definitely an empowerment thing too.
All the guys would want to hang out in our trailer. We'd have just the best times, so much laughter. And then one day we realized that a good percentage of the girls had gone to finishing school. Right?
Really?
And that's where we got the S position.
That was me. That was me. That was in charm school.
That's
Oh,
right.
wow.
That's right.
The big first shot we were going to do was where we were all supposed to load in through the car.
Right.
And we were standing around waiting for the shot. Tanya and I both had to go to the bathroom really bad. And so we ran as fast as we could. And when we got back,
sounds like me.
Lori Bell was standing there going, oh, where'd you guys go? We already did the shot. So that's why we're not coming out of the car.
Oh.
I remember we had to go down and join the musicians union.
Oh, I remember that.
And I was like, I think we're going to get paid, you know? And it was just so exciting. I was going, man, I could do this.
I remember having a Bloody Mary, and Hunt Lowry, our producer, was walking right towards us, looking really angry. And Susie had the hot sauce in her hand, and she just jumps under, goes, put more hot sauce, put more hot sauce. And I'm putting more hot sauce, more hot. And he comes over and goes, what are those, girls? And we go, Virgin Marys. And he goes, yeah, let me taste it. And he tastes it.
So I took a part-time job at the LA Weekly. Whenever I wasn't rehearsing or in a scene, I was on the payphone backstage taking care of business. My boss never knew that I took 2 weeks off to make the film because I was working at the same time.
I moved to New York around 84 and I was walking down, I don't know, 57th Street or something. And I was by myself and I was walking down the street and this guy comes out of a door holding all these boxes and ran right into me. And I was like, oh my God, are you sorry? And he said, oh, are you okay? And it was Dan Stern.
Wow.
Like,
That's so funny.
Oh my God, Danny. And he went, who are you? So I told him who I was and he couldn't believe it. It was like of all people to literally run into in New York City.
So you say, can you talk about the choreography a little bit more?
Lori, what was the concept?
Really, with rock choreography, it's more about just body language and just the energy level and to, be alive, get something happening. Because energy from the audience, you give it to them and you get it back. And it's a circular thing that you got to keep working. I mean, basically, the Nada Band, they did what they did, I mean, everybody had their own ideas and they were musicians. And who's going to tell Lee Ving what to do? Wow. I thought everybody was so talented. And I thought the casting on the Nada Band was so well done. There wasn't much to do. And then, I mean, things like with Malcolm McDowell, I mean, I told him to put some socks in his job. That's not real cool,
It's cruel to ever give people that experience unless they're going to continue. I did write TV. I wrote late night TV for a while. I wrote radio. I did so much live stuff, but this movie was, oh my God, what a memory of energy and fun and crazy.
Like everyone said, it was one of the best times and happiest times of my life and experience with all these great people and just a memory you look back on and smile and to have it come knocking on your door 40 years later.
Yeah. I know.
Hey,
Who would have thought?
and now we're all going to be relevant again. Woo!
I'm really proud of the editing. I just think that it's beautifully cut. There was 3 of these editors, and they did an incredible job blending their each individual styles and paying things off. Set it up, pay it off. Set it up, pay it.
The editing feels completely modern to me.
All of us, we came up on Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
We watched all that cartoon stuff, all that wacky Saturday morning stuff and Zachary, and all of a sudden, a cartoonist named Frank Tashlin is directing Jerry Lewis movies. Everyone here who likes Jerry Lewis movies, raise your hands.
And Frank Tashlin.
And Frank Tashlin. So maybe that's why we all had such a great experience, because we're all in sync.
It was a very happy editing room.
That's one of my questions. What was the atmosphere like in the editing room?
It was very much fun. I mean, we were just very happy to be working on the picture. We were all turned on by the material, and it was a labor of love, really.
Since we're all music aficionados and have been since an early age, and we're all editors, we all have a sense of rhythm. We all have a sense of the beat and what plays and what's going to have impact. So I think that really makes a difference when you're cutting musical numbers, is to have that second sense.
A lot of the editing is propulsive. It's like gathers momentum and goes forward. It's not that it's fast. It just winds up, and then is a lot of tension and release to the.
I mean, literally, you're responding to the rhythms that are in the footage to begin with, but you're creating new rhythms by counterpoint editing.
When you guys showed it to me one morning, we were all in the editing room, and we all watched it together and turned off. We just looked at each other and went, "What the fuck was that?" It was so intense and so ridiculously funny and so committed to what it was. It's as pure expression of rock and roll as I've ever seen in any movie. No matter what I feel about other parts of the movie, that works for me.
But, who was one of the coolest guys was Lee Ving.
It's actually a life lesson memory from the movie. When you called me into your office because you wanted me to meet Lee Ving, oh my God, is this guy going to just spit in my face? I was really kind of nervous about it. And I walk into your office and you say, Lee, this is Ken. And he was like, oh, hi, I'm Lee. He was just as sweet as could be. And he and I actually hung out quite a bit in the wings, just talking about movies and stuff. It's one of those things where you enjoy being wrong.
Laurie had us doing all these flips, and I'm like, what the hell are we doing all these flips for? The second time around, I landed wrong. I sprained my ankle so bad, I couldn't even walk. And I'm like, I'm not going to blow this. So Lee carried me on his shoulders for 3 days everywhere we went, because I couldn't even walk. Anytime we went out to lunch, he'd have me on his shoulders. He was the sweetest guy. I'm like, boy, totally not the character he plays in the movie.
True. He was like a pussycat, right? He was so great.
I was sent in to read for the part of Piggy, who was doing what my soul wanted to do. And you must have seen it. I got hired. I loved it. It was a movie about music. Now, I'm a human about music. And that was, I felt like I was in the right place. And I was incredibly grateful for having been put into a position where I could do in your film what I did on the stage at the Whiskey the night before.
At what point did you realize that I understood your sense of humor?
You would let me try stuff. And it was right out of the fear bag, and you understood it, got the joke. So I got to do more than I ever would have anywhere. I mean,
because you always were going to jump out of the trunk. But I think it was your idea to smash the trunk with your head.
Yes. And you went for it. You loved it. And the movie business was suffering from SOS, same old shit. And Get Crazy was not affected by that. If somebody had a good idea, it was being tried. The whole film was a good idea that was being tried. It was like Christmas Day, man. You were giving me my golden opportunity to do all the goddamn things I wanted to do here in one sitting, and if it wasn't going to be this particular scene, it would be the next particular scene. And it was great. I was pinching myself to make sure I wasn't dreaming. And Malcolm brought that home, that it was, the real deal, because he was a superstar.
Did you get to hang out with him?
Yes. Malcolm's a humble guy, not starstruck by himself. in any way. And that was a relief to me. I wasn't sure what to expect. He liked the music in the band. So, we were fast friends right away.
I think maybe you and I see a same thing in a certain kind of rock, which is transcendence.
A complete uncontrolled thing was what we wanted, that limit of control. Hardly fucking any control whatsoever.
I know I don't have to say this, but just keep on rocking.
I will. That's a promise. And I'll be talking to you soon, brother.
Okay.
What are they more?
When I was in college, they first started to have rock criticism. And I found this magazine called Crawdaddy, put out by college students about music. And these guys are treating the Byrds, and Hendrix as seriously as I treated Thoreau or Dostoevsky. And it like so appealed to me. I have not been thinking about this enough. And so when making Get Crazy, there's another level that I find amusing and certain people do about the criticism of rock. The song that Bill sings first is The Blues Had a Baby and they called it rock and roll.
Yes.
And that was very purposeful, the choice of it. And then having every group play a blues song, but it never ending sounding like blues. At the preview, I remember it went over the audience's head, and they all wrote down, why are they playing the same song?
Right.
As rock scholarship, how does Get Crazy appeal to you?
The thing is about stuff like this is like, in order to make fun of something, you have to first love it. It was obviously made by people who love music and have a wealth of knowledge.
It's a party. It's like you've been invited to a party. That's how I see it. There's so many fun parts to it, like the beginning, like you're getting ready for the party. Mm-hmm. And then you're at the party. And that's the best part. You get to the party so quickly.
Everything happened so quickly in that movie. Think about it. Leaving's number and my true love of live rock and roll, which you can appreciate, when it sounds like it's going to go off the road and kill everybody in the rock and roll car. What we ended up with is all the jokes, and a little bit of the emotion. And I always used to say, this is a movie with 1,500 punchlines and only 1,000 jokes.
That's my brother! That's right!
And a lot of rock references.
Well, the cool thing about it, too, is the fact that there are different styles of music and different kinds of people coming together for a show, which was a lot more common back then. And that makes it fun because people are just going there just to enjoy good music no matter what, instead of all these rules of all these little subgenres that everyone puts themselves in a tiny label. No, just people coming together and enjoying music and having a good time doing it. And that's the feeling that you walk away with, and that's really fun.
Again, I've seen the movie so many times that one day it just clicked, like, oh, that's him right there.
Yeah, and everyone next to me worked at the Fillmore.
Oh,
everyone, the writers,
that's great. Oh, I didn't know that.
The key grip and the lighting designer from the Fillmore, the real Violetta, is standing there with us.
Wow. We watched it for the first time back in 2007 on New Year's Eve, and now it's a tradition, so we watch it every year on New Year's.
Describe what it was like celebrating New Year's Eve every day for, what we shoot, 40 days?
It was really an ensemble cast. Everybody was together. Everybody was into the music. Everybody was into the vibe. And that energy of New Year's Eve concert fun, let's put it on, was there.
You couldn't believe it, because you were just there, and it was just so much fun. We just lived and breathed it and enjoyed it every single day.
You managed to capture the wonder of what was going on at the Fillmore. Get Crazy is a fun film that captured a fun time.
Working with Alan on this, his passion, his understanding, his knowledge, but just how it fulfilled him in so many ways. And I came away from doing this movie and my time with Alan, liking music, appreciating it, and loving it probably tenfold, just from your passion rubbed off on me.
Your love of music was animating this whole thing. And it was a labor of love.
People who are not in this business that we're in are very goal-oriented in the sense of, if they're in the business world, they are not thinking about their life day to day. They're thinking about what they're trying to do at the end. I want to amass $10 million. I want to buy this thing. we have the joy of process. If we do a scene well, that's great. I'm happy now, you know, until I have to do the next scene and my stomach gets in the knot, and then that goes well. And this movie proves it, that for 37 days it was process. And the people who decided to dump it, they don't get any of that.
My only regret is that more people didn't see it.
The movie got made and then it got buried.
The weekend that it came out, my aunt and my cousin were in town, and they were like asking me questions, and the film was going on, and so I couldn't. And I thought, you know, I'm going to come back all by myself all next week and watch it over and over. And next week never happened. It was like, what happened? It was like there Friday, Saturday, and gone.
And by the way, I remember the day after it opened, sort of, and with by Monday it was already out of the theaters. Then the Los Angeles Times printed this sterling review of it, and everyone was saying, "Well, how do we see it?" And it was already gone.
What do you think when you look at it now?
I think of it now as a classic. It's right up there with all the great rock movies, and I think it's magnificent. The movie is huge, and it sounds huge, and it looks bigger than life, but it feels intimate, just those little touches, those little backstage touches. It's like those great World War II musicals. You watched it for the music, but there was always Dick Powell. Yeah. There was always something going on there that you could, cross your fingers and hope that the guy and the girl had a happy ending. Mm-hmm. Happy endings are great, man. You do good happy endings.
I think it's a really sweet movie. Like the end sequence, it comes back around to Susie. I think most comedies would have just dropped her as a character, like once she shows up and gets in the door. But you get this payoff of Auden, who gets to perform for nobody and hasn't in a decade, plays this song just for her. It's just like such a sweet payoff at the end of the movie. I don't know. No movie leaves me happier.
It was just the highest time.
It was the first movie I was ever in, and I thought they were all going to be like that. Boy, was I disappointed.
I think everybody who was any part of the picture would just say they had the best time ever.
We all have these fond memories that have lasted forever of the, just the good feelings we had doing the movie.
It was an amazing, amazing experience.
It was fun to make. And I have to say the picture endures, and I'm very proud of it.
And on our gravestone, it says, they tried to make Lubitsch. They only got as far as Porky's.
I'm, overjoyed that it's finally getting a release and that people are going to see it. And particularly to see it as crisp as it is now. Like, it's like watching the movie for the first time. So I'm very, very excited. I got to say at the same time, it's one of these things where you don't want other people to see it. Like I was at the show and you weren't.
I can't believe after all these years, it's actually going to be done.
Even though it's been 37 years, we get the last say.
That's right. And I like that.
That was fun.
I don't know how you feel, but for me, it's really gratifying to hear what people had to say about 37 days they spent together 4 decades ago. It's one thing to have a creative experience in recent time, but something that happened so long ago and have these feelings, it's kind of unique. And that's why there's more. We've got some videos that were made for MTV that never aired, homemade rock criticism, and best of all, the return of the Nada Band.
Get crazy!